Hello and welcome to Dude's Comic Reviews. I'm Jason and this is my weekly review video where I share with you my opinions on the books that I picked this week. First things first, an apology, there was no Dude's Comic Haul this week. Events this Wednesday conspired against me doing it, so I didn't get to do that video, so I'm sorry about that. But I am back today with my reviews, 9 books to get through, so shall we get straight to those reviews? So first up this week in my reviews we have a Batman issue number 24. For the observant amongst you, this is one of the books that I said I wasn't going to be getting. And basically that was the stance I was taking last week. The whole thing with it is I feel that sometimes as comic book fans we kind of hurt ourselves, in our habits. For example, we say we don't want too many deaths, and if somebody dies we don't want them coming back. But every time they kill off a major character or bring them back, and those issues where they come back and they die, they sell out and they have to do second and third printings. We say we don't want too many big events, but every time one comes out it's the highest selling book, one of the highest selling books that month. So I just felt, because with this book we'd come off Villains Month, which for a lot of people had been very expensive. We then had like this issue which is going to be $6.99, and then next month then the issue of Batman is $4.99, and it's a 0 year month, so you've got all the 0 year tie-ins which are all going to be $3.99. So I was just like, I didn't like all of that. I thought there should be a bit of a gap, that if you're going to have a big event, something like a Villains Month, that you at least have a month in between for people to kind of recover from that, and before you run into something else. And so I was just a bit aggrieved with that. So I decided I wasn't going to buy it, and it was a difficult choice to make because this has been one of my favourite books out of the New 52. Out of comic books full stop, this has been one of my favourite books. Love the team of Scott Snyder with Capullo, but I just felt it had to be something I had to do. I had to make a stand, even though I know it would just be me one, and it's kind of like a whisper in the wind. Nobody was going to hear it, but I just felt I'd be a hypocrite if I didn't. So yeah, that was the stance, and I was very proud of myself last week. I didn't buy it. I knew it would be good, but I didn't go near it. And then kind of the weekend I had a week's moment and I bought it off eBay. So I am now officially a hypocrite. But in saying that, I'm glad to be a hypocrite because this book is fantastic. Wow, what a book. It really has a true kind of epic feel to it that is just like, oh wow. This definitely would have been, last week would have been my pick of the week if I'd have got it last week, if that makes any sense. It's just truly epic. Snyder and Capullo are on top form. The art is just fantastic all the way through. The last 10 pages I think we have Raphael Albuquerque doing it's kind of like it's not a backup story, it's more like kind of like an epilogue, at the end. The whole thing is brilliant. You get the final confrontation with the Red Hood gang. Brilliant story. I think in years to come we're going to look back on this run of Snyder and Capullo's, and it's going to be considered one of the greatest runs on the book with this character of anyone. We get the 75th anniversary next year of Batman, and I think in that history, if you're like making like a top 10 creative teams on this book, I think Snyder and Capullo definitely at this stage have to be in the top 5. Because this book has just been brilliant all the way through. This story there's so many great moments. I can't pick out one or two to kind of get an example because there's just so many great moments. But yeah, definitely recommend it. If you can afford it, pick it up. It's well worth it. A truly epic kind of book. I even liked there was a bit at the end where it kind of they do this trick so people think that Batman and Bruce Wayne are both there, so kind of prove that they're separate people, which I kind of liked. Like, you think, well, why ain't nobody in Gotham kind of pointed, well, yeah, that's got to be Bruce Wayne, he's the only guy who got the money to do this. I like that they do something here so people don't think that, so people think they're separate people. I kind of like that kind of detail that Snyder puts in there, just brilliant. But yeah, all in all, love the book, and yeah, this is definitely, I'm looking forward to the next issue, even though it is going to be expensive. I give Batman issue number 24 a definite 5 stars. Next up we have the Fantastic Four issue number 13, and this issue was a bit of a surprise to me. I went in not really with my expectations very high. I really enjoyed the way Matt Fraction has written the characters in the book. He really has a good handle on each of the characters, but I just think the story hasn't always been the best. It has been very inconsistent. But this issue I read it, and initially I was really confused, didn't have a clue what was going on. Like, when did the Thing become black? When did Reed Richards become Stevenson Storm? And I was a bit confused. But I stuck with it, and I'm glad I did, because by the end everything made sense, and it even answered a few questions I hadn't asked yet. So that was really cool. And yeah, it's worth sticking with if you're reading it and you're a bit confused. Just stick with it to the end, and yeah, it works out. And I actually ended up really enjoying this book, which I was really surprised. It's exciting to see what they're going to do in the future. We know this is going to end with issue 16, and it looks very much like they're going to tie this in with FF. Because the kind of, in this, you've got this is the first issue where you get the villains of Doctor Doom, Annihilus and Kang kind of coming together, which we've been seeing in FF. You have the other version of Johnny Storm, which we've got in FF. So you've got all these different things that are kind of like coming together now. It's really going to be interesting how they tie the books together at the end and how they set everything straight. I'm looking forward to James Robinson taking over the book. I think he'll be a great addition to Marvel. I think probably, you know, the times I listened to him on Comic Vine, with Earth 2, he had a lot of plans set out like a year ahead where he wanted to take the book. But I think, and this is just my kind of assumption, I think with DC, I think that constant planning was scuppered by DC's constant change in their mind, and I think at Marvel they seem to be much more, they'll stick to the long-term idea, and I think Robertson will find himself a lot happier here, and I'm just really looking forward to seeing what he's going to do with the book. But until then, this issue was a real surprise to me, really enjoyed it, and I give issue number 13 of the Fantastic Four 5 stars. So next we have Batman 66 issue number 4. This book is still a lot of fun. Parker, the writer, Jeff Parker, does a fantastic job of getting the verbiage right and the whole kind of thing, the humour. Everything in this just feels like it's a lost episode of the TV show. There's funny things like they need to go to London, so Batman and Robin dressed in the Batman and Robin outfits catch a regular plane to London. It's just bonkers, and then they get off the plane and you've got like the Beatles in front of them and the crowd are all chanting, and Batman's like, oh look, they knew we were coming, Robin. And yeah, just like crazy stuff like that goes, and that totally fits in with what the TV show was, but it feels utterly bonkers. So yeah, I really enjoyed it. I'm still enjoying the book. The villains this issue, we've got the Mad Hatter, and we've got the Clock King. So you've got two different villains. I believe I've ever seen the Clock King in the comic before. So yeah, but these two characters, you know, they're both in London, and the stories two stories in the book kind of lead on from one another. It is getting a bit formulaic, but that was the TV show, you know. The villains do a heist, Batman and Robin try to stop them, initially fail, then solve the puzzle and beat the villains at the end. It sticks to that kind of formula that we had in the TV show. So yeah, that can get a bit repetitive, but that was the nature of the show. Other than that though, I'm still really enjoying this one. I am worried about the future of the book, just because I know there's a lot of books I want to pick up in the new year that are coming out, and I don't know if this is one of those books that doesn't carry on from each month. It's a separate story each month, and I think I can already see the jokes are kind of getting old now because nothing's kind of moving on. So I could kind of see this being a book that I'll have had enough of by Christmas, and in the new year it would be one of the ones I drop, which would be a shame, because I think it's really cool to see a different kind of Batman. The Batman we have these days is always so dark and so serious, and it's great to see a kind of a lighter Batman. But yeah, so I'm still enjoying this one, and I'd give Batman 66 issue number 4 stars. So next up we have B.P.R.D. Hell on Earth. For those of you who don't know, B.P.R.D. stands for Bureau of Paranormal Research and Defense. This issue, we've got this kind of like a end of the world thing where they've tried to defeat these bad guys, and they've blown this place up. But then, what that's done is just created a situation where all this evil, these monsters are coming out of the earth, and it's kind of very much like a kind of apocalypse kind of situation. We centre around these two characters in two separate kind of stories, Liz Sherman and a character called Phoenix. And they both have done things that they regret, and this issue is the middle part of this five-part story called Lake of Fire, and it's the middle part, so they're kind of feeling guilty for past actions, and they're kind of, this is the issue where they kind of decide what they're going to do going forward. I think it'd have a lot more impact if you'd been reading the book. I think probably events in this book would have a lot more impact. In saying that, though, I found it easy to get to grips with what was happening, and I found I instantly got interested in our two main characters. There are other characters and other things going on in the book, but those are the two main threads, two main stories, and I got into those, and I liked the book a lot. There's a very much a dark tone with the art. I think there's only one scene in a hospital that is quite light. The rest of the scenes in the book are quite dark, so it does have that kind of horror movie kind of feel. I enjoyed this issue. I definitely will be back to see what happens next. I think this is one I'm going to add to my pull list, and I give B.P.R.D. Hell on Earth 112 4 stars. So next up we have Batman and Two-Face issue number 24. Of course, this was the before it was Batman and Robin, but after Damian Wayne, the current Robin, died, they had a different team up every month. This begins a 5-story arc featuring Two-Face, and that's why he has took the title. The story, I like the story. The group of villains in Gotham want to kind of take the crime back from the crazies, so they get together and they're going to wipe out the crazies one by one. This woman called Erin McKillen, who has been hiding out in Ireland, she comes back and they want her to take out Two-Face, and she has a history. We get a flashback and find out the history between this woman and Two-Face. And then it's very much, that's the first half of the issue, introducing the characters. The second half is very much the chase as the Gotham police track her down and she's on the run, and then Batman chasing her. So it's very much a very Erin-centered book. We get minimal scenes with Batman or Two-Face. There is a really nice scene with Alfred and Bruce Wayne when they make a discovery at Wayne Manor, which I really liked. It kind of hints at a possible return for a certain character, and I thought that was a nice bit to put in the book. But all in all, yeah, I really enjoyed the book. It does feel very much like a first chapter of a book introducing the characters and sort of setting the story up. The cliffhanger is a bit weak at the end. Isn't really a cliffhanger that grabs you wanting to know what happens next. And I am concerned how they're going to spread this out for 5 issues. But hopefully we'll have some twists and turns that will facilitate that. But all in all, though, yeah, I enjoyed this book. It was a lot of fun. Tomasi's doing a great job with the book, and as always, Gleason's art is a joy to see. So I give Batman and Two-Face issue number 24 4 stars. So here we have my pick of the week, Superior Spider-Man issue number 19. I did kind of debate backwards and forth whether to make this or Batman issue number 24 my pick of the week, but I don't like to do a book that hasn't come out this week, make it my pick of the week. But Batman was just so good, I was really tempted to. But in the end I thought, no, I'll stick with a book that's come out this week, and the best book that I bought this week was Superior Spider-Man issue number 19. A fantastically well crafted book. You know, there's things that we see the ultimate, like, that have kind of go down in this issue that have kind of been built since going back to the big time story arc back in Amazing Spider-Man. So, you know, it's fantastically well thought out and crafted by Dan Slott. And that's where, like I was saying earlier during the Fantastic Four review, about how Marvel seem to be a lot more, they have the long game, they'll have the long plan, and they seem to stick with it, where DC seem to flitter and change their mind a lot more, which I think sometimes affects the quality and coherency of their books. This issue though is fantastic. Like I say, it's fantastic. We once again have Ryan Stegman on art, which is my favourite Spider-Man artist, and so the book is just fantastic. The story itself is brilliant. There's fantastic twists and turns. I just totally loved it. There's this one bit of knowledge that Spider-Man needs to save the day, but it's knowledge that Peter Parker has. And of course, Doc Ock has erased all Peter Parker's memories, so now he can't remember what he needs to know, which is hilarious, and kind of once again proves who the superior Spider-Man really is. I also like we continue this downward spiral of Doc Ock as everything starts to overwhelm him, and all the things that Peter used to be able to juggle that he's really struggling with. We have a great conclusion with Spider 2099. I thought it was going to be one of these ones where it all ends up neatly wrapped, but it doesn't. There are things that are left over going on in our world, and it makes a big change to the book and to the Spider-Man books. So I'm looking forward to seeing how that goes. We have a new company that comes through at the end of the book that we know are going to play a big part in future years. All in all, this was a really good book with loads of big things happening. It also gets my geek out moment of the week, because there's this one line they have in here where they say I got to reverse the polarity of the neutron flow, which is totally a Doctor Who reference, and I just geeked out when I read that. It was like the third Doctor, played by John Pertwee, used to come out with that all the time, and it just kind of became his catchphrase. So I just totally geeked out when I saw that Doctor Who reference in here, because Dan Slott, the writer, is a massive Doctor Who fan. The end of the book is really good as well, as like I say, we're getting nearer and nearer to the downfall of Dr. Octopus, and I'm really loving the book. I'm really loving how everything seems to be building, which is really good. And I give issue number 19 of the Superior Spider-Man not only geek out moment of the week, not only pick of the week, but I also give it 5 stars. Well, next up we have Justice League of America, issue number 8. And this book just totally delivered everything I want. Going in, I knew we wouldn't get all the answers, but I at least wanted answers into what had happened to the Justice League, where were they? And we get that answered. We get to see where some of the Justice League are. We don't see none of the Justice League Dark, strangely enough. It's all Justice League or Justice League of America members. But we get to see what's happened to them and where they're being kept. So that was one thing. The bulk of the book is centered around Martian Manhunter and Stargirl, which I liked because Martian Manhunter is one of my favourite characters. The art is really good all the way through, by Doug Mackey. Once again, they're giving 4 inkers, which I don't understand why you have 4 inkers on a book. But thankfully, this issue, they don't make that much difference as far as it isn't glaringly different from page to page. They at least keep it all or similar, so it doesn't really stand out that there's 4 inkers. That's one good thing, I suppose. But yeah, this book just was a lot of fun. It continues to build this Forever Evil storyline, which I'm really enjoying. Looking forward to see how this is going to play out over the next 5 months. And this issue, like I say, delivered everything I wanted, and I give issue number 8 of Justice League of America 5 stars. So next up we have Wonder Woman issue number 24. This right there is my cover of the week. Really love that cover. And really, in fact, the past few issues we've had some really good covers on this book. This issue, the story carries on. It's just as great as it always is. It very much, it's continued the same story since issue 1, which is phenomenal. And it can make the book a bit hard to jump into, because you've kind of got to jump in mid-story. And that can put people off. I think this issue in particular, I think is a good place to jump on if you are tempted to jump on, because we're very much, while the story's carrying on, it's very much a setting up of a new status quo. So so in that way, it makes it not good to be able to jump in. Wonder Woman's kind of after dealing with the consequences of becoming the God of War and the new responsibilities she has in this role, and kind of her reaction to that. We also did the return of some characters we haven't seen for a while, which was really cool. The art was done by a guy called Goran Sudzuka, and it's kind of similar to Cliff Chang's. I don't know if that's the artist kind of his regular art style, and they've picked somebody who's similar to Chang, or if he's kind of deliberately mimicking Chang's artwork to keep it consistent. But yeah, the artwork, well, I am looking forward to Chang coming back on the book. Never thought I'd enjoy a Wonder Woman book as much as I'm enjoying this one. Some really interesting developments going on, and all in all, it's just a lot of fun. Definitely one worth looking out for. Like I say, great place to jump in. Or they've got the first 3 trades out now, so it's you can go jump in from the start if you want. But yeah, I never thought I'd be enjoying a Wonder Woman book as much as I'm enjoying this one. One of the best books out there right now, and I give Wonder Woman issue number 24 not only my cover of the week, but I also give it 4 stars. So finally this week we have Uncanny X-Men issue number 13. This features chapter 8 of Battle of the Atom. Just on a side note, in case of those of you watching this think this is just another big crossover, this isn't kind of like Infinity where you have the main Infinity book and then you have all these crossovers running off it. This story has been more like the Lights Out story in Green Lantern, where like each week that story carries on through the different Green Lantern books. There are no crossovers, it's just every Green Lantern book it's told in. This is the same but with the X-Men book, so it runs through Uncanny X-Men, Wolverine in the X-Men, All New X-Men, and X-Men. And yeah, so it runs through those books, and that's that. Just in case some of you think, is this a big crossover thing? It isn't. What I've really liked all the way through this is how whatever issue it is on, like this issue we are in Uncanny X-Men, so members of the Uncanny X-Men team take the forefront, so characters like Cyclops and Magic are really at the forefront of this book, even though the story's still moving on, and I really liked how they do that. I enjoyed this issue. There's plenty of action, some brutal fight scenes, and some brutal conclusions to those fight scenes. There's some nice twists and turns with the Brotherhood trying to send the original X-Men back in time. There's some nice twists and turns with that. I do have one glaring problem with the book, in that I want to know why they're all fighting, because it seems to be everybody in the book wants to send the original X-Men back in time. They seem to be fighting over it, and I don't quite understand why. That just has me a bit puzzled. But other than that, I'm still really enjoying the book. It's a lot of great fun. Really looking forward to see how it's going to conclude. And I give Uncanny X-Men issue number 13 4 stars.